See.
Okay. Is there a motion to open the meeting of the Holyoke Planning Board for Tuesday, June 10th?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Lauren,
Yep.
and Gardner.
Yes.
Okay. First up on our agenda was the special permit for temporary fence height. We've just continued that. Next up are the notices of decision for site plan review for 37 Appleton. And at our last meeting, obviously, we started to go through these and realized we didn't have a quorum because Rosanna was unfortunately laid up. And Kate had the brilliant idea of our going through the drafts anyway and getting them finalized to the extent we could so that Rosanna could just glance over them and maybe we could approve them fast, fast, fast. So, can we get those up on screen? The
Yes.
first one is the site plan review.
Uh-oh. I got logged out. 1 second.
Yeah, it's not a good computer night.
No. Let's try
It'll be
that.
a better one when they've got you back in your offices.
Yes, can't wait.
Is it happening?
Yeah,
Woohoo!
yeah, the mayor apparently approved, what was it, today?
It was late yesterday. But now we just have to wait for the computer department to come and reset everything up.
Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll have to update some of those dates as far as date of decision is concerned.
But otherwise, it's a matter of Rosanna, if you see any changes you want, now's your chance.
Can you just go up to the top, please? Just to the top of the sheet.
You're so cute, Mimi. You know, I don't see nothing that needs to be changed. Once you and Kate review it, Lauren said advise, we're good to go.
Yeah, well, that's always my feeling. If Lauren and Kate are okay with it, so am I.
And I'll obviously change the font color and stuff like that. But
So again, why these, they had approved, I left these in because these are would have been normally standard notice of decision items. I throw it out to the board whether or not they want to include them or not, but know that during the public hearing process, they one stated that there would be no temporary signs. And two, the second one, they did say that, or they did provide sign plans. So presumably, as long as they stick with that there's going to be no temp signs and that the permanent signs as what was approved in part of that package, then these technically could go away. Where other projects, and why these are standard, is we don't always have rather definitive responses. So this is kind of a catch just in case. So it depends on if the board wants to hold the applicant to what they've said during the correspondence of the hearings, or does the board wish to add these two? It's up to you, obviously.
Either way is fine with me since we've heard their plans. Don't have a strong feeling either way.
And it still needs renumbering, however we make the call on that.
Yes, so that I will change to.
18 is really important.
Yep.
So I'll move that we can leave the crossed out ones crossed out since they're dealt with in the public hearing, and that we approve the site plan review for the proposed motor vehicle repair garage at 37 Appleton Street.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Gardner.
Yes.
And next up, the notice of decision for the special permit for reduction in parking requirements.
So this was the tricky one. And so in project, so um if I recall correctly, this is something I think they've asked to withdraw, because at this point
Right.
we required them 50. I might have wrote it in the text below. If you could just scroll further down.
Yep.
Again, I'm not at my normal site, so I can't
Yeah.
access
Yeah,
online.
it says 58 provided, 59 required.
Yeah,
Sorry, 58 required, 59 provided. Can we
Right.
just give it leave to withdraw?
Yeah, please just humor. Keep going down to the body of the vote and just see if I didn't add something there. Like, keep going a little further, please. No, okay. So
Yeah,
if I
well,
recall, they asked to withdraw this, or
Yeah,
they
it
asked
seems
that
to
they
me-
no longer needed this.
Yeah, if I'm remembering our meeting correctly, we did ask Jane whether it was sufficient for us to just put a note in the file saying that they asked for leave to withdraw, and we gave it, so that we didn't have to actually do a notice of decision one way or the other.
That's my memory as well.
So we can just put this aside and write that letter to the file and
Right.
to them, saying that it was their request and we voted to approve it.
And wasn't there an A&R that they originally requested that we also needed to put a letter in saying that they withdrew that as well?
Yeah,
But I believe that last meeting wasn't that discussed, withdrawn, so to speak?
It
Yeah,
was,
I-
but we just
it was.
Okay,
said we were gonna put a letter in the file, just
gotcha.
to put it. Is my memory.
Yep.
Yeah, my memory is that there were two of them, and this is presumably the other that Jane blessed doing a letter on.
Yeah.
Which would leave us with the special permit to exceed temporary fence height.
I think, given that this is a temporary fence, we should probably take out the last two bullet points.
Yes,
The point is it's not, the point is it's temporary and it doesn't really matter. The harmonization isn't a
Yeah.
key issue.
and I would also take out the select all that apply.
Yeah. Yes.
Having complete deja vu.
Oh, yeah.
I also have a typo there. After the industrial uses in red above, I didn't, it should be for a special permit. Go down a little bit,
Not
right?
or.
Line up, right up. In that, for me to exceed, for special permit to exceed fence height. I left out an F.
And I move that we approve the special permit to exceed the temporary fence height.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Lauren,
Yep.
and Grander.
Yes.
Okay. And next up on the agenda is executive session, which we're going to skip over because we don't need. And there was much rejoicing. And we're on to project updates, old business, new business. And we don't have anything specific listed under there. I've got a handful of minor things to run by people, but Jeff, do you have anything?
Just an FYI, today we received, as noted earlier, the Victory Theater plans. Staff still, obviously we just received them late this afternoon or later this afternoon. Before we stamp anything in, we're going to review the checklist, make sure it's complies, minimally speaking to the requirements of submission. And then we'll sign off and officially stamp them. I predict that that'll be the next day or so, or by say week's end. And then we've also at 4:25 today received the information from Peck School for their signs that, I currently have as a question mark on July 8th. But there's still information forthcoming, but they submitted the application and whatnot as a placeholder while they get us the rest of the stuff, which includes digital copy. And then one thing I couldn't remember, was whether or not they're exempt from the fee. I just have to do a little research on that tomorrow. I don't remember if for the original project if they did or not. I just didn't have time to, from when they submitted to when I got involved in some other stuff. I didn't have time to check that. So at any rate, so Peck submitted and Victory submitted. And that's all I would have, say, for updates, old new business, unless the board has something else.
I just wanted to both thank Kate for catching me and confess that I forgot about our transmission of the, our segment of the chicken ordinance to the city council. So part of this afternoon, I threw together a draft of our recommendation. I know that we discussed having the older recommendation when John Kelly was chair attached to it, and the ordinance portion of our previous recommendation attached to that, without any of the confusing comments about what, for instance, the Board of Health might choose to do. Where we left this, I think, was Jane was going to detach those portions of recommended ordinance change so that we could attach them to the letter from John and the letter from us. Ordinance meets next week on the 16th, so it is not too late. I have drafted a recommendation letter to go with this stuff, and my only question at this point really is whether the board wants to see this. I think we ought to get it out tomorrow or Thursday. And if you want the letter to read, of course, I will send it along through Brianna. And if at this point you would just as soon have it not clutter your email boxes, I'm good with that too.
I'm fine with you just sending it. We had already agreed, and I think we're ready to go.
I'm agree with you.
Okay. Then, Rosanna, unless you have a burning need to see this letter, we'll get it out of here. If worst comes to worst, we can do our own detaching
No.
the ordinance from the commentary.
No, because we spoke about this. No, I'm good.
Okay, so, and Brianna, just for the record, if
Yeah.
you ever notice that I said I would do something and you haven't seen me do it yet, please kick me in the ankles. I'm very bad at organization.
No problem.
Thank you.
I won't kick you in the ankles, but no problem.
Well, metaphorically,
Okay.
I will not be angry about why you're nagging me. I will be grateful.
All right, you got it.
And the other business we can get to once we've gone over the meeting schedule, because that's all comprehensive plan stuff. So meeting schedule. March 24th, where we have one marijuana review.
Right. Can I still have a bit of old business
Oh.
real quick?
Please.
I just wanted to check in on where we were with the short-term rental ordinance and if that's going to city council.
Yes, an excellent question, which we are investigating at this very moment. When we last talked about this, we had agreed, at least to the best of my memory and Kate's, that we closed the public hearing. We agreed that we were recommending the draft we had with a few tweaks that Jane was going to put onto it.
Mhm.
And Jane agreed that she was going to tweak it. At
Mhm.
that point, I think we all lost track of precisely where it was in the process. We never got the draft back from Jane, which in turn meant that we did not send the recommendation or the rec letter over.
Okay.
And I got not only your query, but a query from Councillor Anderson Burgos about where it was in the process last night.
Okay.
So Jane is tracking it down. I gather, although she's not here to explain it fully, that in terms of process, any missteps can be remedied. So we shouldn't be looking at having lost our work. And it is obvious from my communication from Ron that he at least is really eager for the council to get onto this and deal with it.
Okay.
So there is still appetite for it. But that's where it is. And, you know,
So we need it back from Jane.
we need it back from Jane, and we need to just get it over to them saying, we recommend that you adopt this, and we're happy to talk about the details.
Okay. Do you think we can get it in before the next city council meeting, or with Jane not here, it's really hard to comment on that?
Yeah, it's hard to know. That, you know, I would have to go back and listen to the recordings and figure out again what it was we wanted legal to add or thought they were adding. Because, you know, we were in really good shape. We were in good enough shape to close it. We
Yeah.
chose a number for the license caps. We celebrated.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think between everybody having to move offices and the number of weird emergencies coming by, you know, it's been a bad organizational few months, for which I take a certain amount of responsibility.
Happens.
So anybody else have anything? All right. Now we can go to calendar or meeting schedule. And this really plays into the other business at the bottom. This is the comprehensive plan situation, which I don't know. Should I take the lead on? Jeff, Kate, Lauren, anybody involved in this mess?
You can start it. How's that sound?
We'll
That's
pitch it.
So as you all know, we've been going back and forth with our consultant, and they've developed a certain amount of, you know, interesting and useful material that is a good basis for some stuff. But it became clear, I think, in our last small meeting that everybody on our side of the table was experiencing certain communications difficulties. Like, it wasn't that agency wasn't listening exactly, but my sense at least was that they didn't really understand what we were trying to say. And as a result, we were getting back a lot of material that was like, it was responsive in a small way to individual comments. Like if we asked them to change a phrase because we didn't like it, the change got made, but there was no discussion and no real ability to discuss because of the format of the meetings what might be the larger meaning behind the request for that small change. You know, a lot of the time, something like that'll come up, and that's not really the issue. That is just a symptom of the underlying issue. And Jeff had a bunch of comments that just never really got addressed in any comprehensive fashion. And a draft came out, and we had a meeting with them where Jeff said, you know, I would really like to have a meeting, you know, just maybe with Alan and go through all of this, you know, line by line. And after several iterations of that request, they agreed to do it. But then when they called to set up the meeting or emailed to set up the meeting, it was clear once again that they'd kind of missed the point, or that we hadn't made it clearly. You know, my point here is not to cast blame on anyone, but at some point in the ensuing day or so, I thought, you know, this is not working. We need to step back, and the city, you know, we need to have a serious meeting with these guys where Jeff can explain what he is looking at, and we can talk about what's still missing and why we think we need it. And yeah, this probably means that the schedule is going to have to be drawn back. There's a lot of rewriting and rethinking to be done. And I checked with Jeff and Aaron to see whether they thought I was imagining this. You know, I think that I roped poor Kate into listening to me about it too. But we wound up with a consensus that, yeah, we ought to, instead of just asking for a meeting and letting it go according to their normal format, we ought to ask for a meeting, have a bunch of internal meetings ahead of time so that we all knew what it was we were looking for and why we were doing this, instead of potentially arguing with each other in the meeting. And just let agency know what we were looking for and could we please set this meeting up? So yeah, nobody disagreed. And we sent out the request yesterday morning saying, you know, here's where we think we are. And we realized that this is likely to create delays while we, for instance, fix the maps that don't show everything that we need to see on them. And we're good with that. We would rather present this later than we had intended than present something that doesn't quite work. We have gotten back a rather terse response saying, we have to think about this, we'll get back to you. But meanwhile, you know, I personally think that we are going to have to do a whole lot of this work because we understand what we need, and I'm not sure they do. And in talking to Jeff and Kate, you know, they proposed, and I enthusiastically agreed, that perhaps since we had a late agenda for our next meeting, we could try even to meet in person if people are able to do it, and to the extent people are able to do it. Go put a bunch of our giant zoning maps on the table and talk through the major policy changes we'd like to see and talk among ourselves about any disagreements we have and, you know, why we might or might not want to, you know, reformulate certain zones, where they ought to be, what would just be duplicating what we've already done. And then at least we would have a good starting place. And you know, Laura and I gather that you and Jeff have already started doing some of this work. But
Yeah, we've taken a look at some stuff and had some good conversations. But yeah, I mean, most of it was dealing with the comp plan that we have, or the draft that we were delivered, and realizing like how much it did not mesh with what we need.
yeah,
It's
so the idea was there's a, what was it, the High Street Improvement District meeting also on the same night at 5:30. And Kate had proposed that maybe if we're all on board with this, we could start our meeting later. So anybody who was able to go to that meeting and wanted to could go to that one. And then just come back to Jeff's office, which by then we hope will have, or the conference room on the 4th floor, which by then we hope will have like computer access and safety and all of that. And just see how much we can work through in.
I would appreciate that. Because I would like to, this is
Yeah.
a lot. This comprehensive plan is a lot. And I went
Yep.
to some of the meetings, and some of the stuff that's written here doesn't make sense with some of the ideas that were spoken about. And after like 20 pages, my brain shuts off and then I have to go back. But it is
Yep.
a lot, like a lot. And so I would appreciate to meet in person, bring out the maps, because what was said in person and what is written on here, I'm just not connecting the dots.
Okay, well,
So I would propose a couple things. I mean, I would like to go to the High and Maple, but I think there needs to be sort of a time limit on that. So I think we should set a time for us to start, and I will just leave the High and Maple whenever I need to. You know, so like if we say we're starting at 6:30, I'll go to 45 minutes of High and Maple and then come over to the conference room. Um, I think it would be really good if everybody before we meet takes a good look at the zoning, the chart of what's allowable in different zones. And so, maybe Brianna can make sure the most updated version of that, because I know that what I have in my, I don't think what I even have in paper at home is the most updated. So if we could get, the zoning chart so everybody can come with a copy or like have looked at it, I think that would be useful. And then we'll look at the map.
That I can do.
Anybody have anything they want to add at this point? It sounds like we have at least a plan for our next meeting. Jeff, anything that I've left out that you feel we ought to?
No, that was it was a very good synopsis. But one thing we do want to do that night is we just briefly want to review 15 Main Street, the Euphorium letter.
Yeah,
So then that way we can pass that off to the ordinance committee for their next meeting, whenever that might be. So it'll be that item, and then it'll be a comprehensive plan, tabletop exercise to follow.
okay. And what is a good start time for people? 6:15, 6:30? Or do we want
Honestly,
to-
I don't think it matters because I'm with Kate. I want to go to the meeting, but even if we're there 45 minutes, nothing could be discussed in those 45 minutes, or a lot can be discussed in the 45 minutes. So Kate, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Is
So
that-
set a time and we will figure it out.
I
Is
think
that-
we just have to go to High and Maple and make sure that we like get our input in the first 45 minutes and then split,
That makes sense.
like
I agree.
Okay,
we'll be on
6:30
a mission.
to allow you some time in between to get from one to the other?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll schedule it for 6:30, and anyone who can't actually make it live, obviously we will bring you in by Zoom if we need to. But I think being there is going to be really helpful.
So you want us to set it up as a hybrid meeting then? So we'll still set the Zoom meeting, but we'll make a point to also stay in person.
Well,
Yeah,
who can be there in person? Like, do we need a Zoom meeting? I'm going to be there in person.
well, I'm kind of worried about Gurninder.
Why?
Well,
Because
he
you're like
might not
silent.
be willing or able to get to this meeting live, and if you want to be here and you need Zoom access, we don't want to leave you out.
6:30, right?
Right.
Should be okay.
Okay, I love it. Then we don't have to add Zoom access, I don't think. Lauren, your hand is up.
Oh, my hand was just up to say that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, we're going back to the olden days. That's for
Is
once.
there any value in like us starting at the normal start time and then the people that are going to High and Maple like joining in? I feel like this is going to be a long meeting, and I'm just wondering if it makes sense to like start digging in, and then when Kate and Rosanna get there at 6:30, we can just kind of like update them with what we've talked about rather than just starting at 6:30.
Would 3 be a quorum?
Yes,
Start the meeting?
yes.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, no, I am happy either way. It's just a matter of whether Kate and Rosanna want to be with us for the entire discussion.
If you feel like you can update us, and that way, if we can get out of High and Maple faster, we can get out of High and Maple faster.
Okay,
The point to me of doing it at a board meeting is that more than 2 of us can be together in the same room because it's an open meeting.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if we can't all be there, it's still useful.
Gurinder, can you be there at 5:30? Because we would need that, right?
5:30.
Oh, for the planning board, not for the High and Maple. Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
see.
For the planning, not for High Maple.
Correct. So we could start work.
So like the meeting will go start at 5:30. Me and Kate will be at the other meeting, but we'll be back by 6:30. You guys can update us. That way we're not starting at 6:30 on the 24th.
So you and Kate's gonna be High and Maple, and we're gonna be.
With Jeff.
In the planning conference room.
Is ready back that room.
Yes.
We have the right to be on the fourth floor now.
Oh, okay. Thank God for that.
So say we all.
All right, so be there 5:30 at the conference room, and then we go to map.
No, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna stay.
Just
And
sit
me
there.
and Kate are gonna show up at 6:30. You just there at 5:30, Gunnar, okay?
All right. Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'll bring you some goodies so you can stay
Yeah.
awake. I got you.
Oh, yeah. Make sure it's not sweet.
Yeah, we're gonna hold you to that. God, it's been a long time. I used to bring cookies to these.
Cookies.
Oh, you like that, Gunnar? I heard it in your voice.
That's what I say. No sweet. I
It's
have
really tempting to do it.
What is RMRE?
That's the marijuana letter.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Recreational marijuana.
Retail establishment. A
Are we
a big acronym for just basically a retail store.
Are we doing that in the same meeting, or are we pushing that to July 8th?
I think we might as well do it and get it out of there. It shouldn't take too long.
Can it be
Yeah.
done with 3 people?
Technically, it can, because all it is a recommendation letter back to the ordinance committee to say, or, a letter stating what they see with the proposed project.
So
Which
you
in
all
this
can
case
clear
is-
that at 5:30.
Yeah.
Awesome. Look at us being efficient.
Man, that's crazy.
This is such a good board, I have to say. I haven't said it before. You guys are the best. I've been on this board for a long time, and this is amazingly functional. Also fun.
You guys realize I don't talk much.
Maybe that's why.
You
No,
know
not
why?
really.
You know
Actually,
why?
we do.
You know why, right?
Because your smoke detector still needs a battery.
Yo, Jeff always gets you with that.
No. Man,
Because we're not saying things that you have to stop us from doing because they're so stupid.
I'm just scared for like engaged 4 women and 1 guy talking. No way. Better be quiet.
On your team.
I just listen one at home, so then I don't. Just kidding. Joke for the day. Oh boy. God bless the board. God bless America.
So that's June 24th. July 8th, we now have the Victory Theater.
The July 8th. That's why I was wondering.
I feel so bad. Why were they so lost? No, I genuinely felt bad. Like I felt bad. Like we've had this conversation. Like I don't like why you guys don't got it together. We've been talking about the same thing for like 35 years.
Come on, Rosanna.
I feel bad, seriously.
I think they got it. I'm going to be optimistic and say we're going to have a complete thing to look at on July 8th. You guys can all remind me that I said this.
Aspirational.
This meeting is being recorded.
I don't get the notice today, so I'm safe.
But I do feel bad for them because I don't know what happened. I really did go to that meeting and warn them that they were missing permits.
It just sounds like not everyone's talking to each other. And it
Yeah.
sounds like there's a lot of people involved and messages aren't getting completely relayed to where they need to get relayed, or there's just so much information that things are getting lost, which is understandable on a project of that scope with a lot of touch points.
So we'll see. With luck, they've gotten it together, and the last time they were through, back 2019, that was a great plan. And they even had great people presenting it.
And we did, like, I know that we talked about requesting having a member of planning board present for their meetings that they were calling every month. So I think that could potentially help as well. Like,
Yeah, that was one where nobody ever got back to us, as I recall.
Right. I literally got the link 5 minutes before the meeting. And at that point, it was just too late to try to do anything with it. So hopefully next time they're more diligent in getting that link out.
and maybe it's a just like, hey, like reaching out to them again and saying, would this be of value to you to include somebody from our board so that we know what's going on with you as well?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because the fact is, we can usually be helpful to applicants who need help. They just have to be willing to talk to us.
Yes.
But I'd be willing to wager that when they were before the DPW, they were only going for a right of encumbrance, which would allow them to work within the, right of way or put the say Jersey barriers. And they probably recommended Jersey or barriers, but then probably never followed up with you need to get a permit to now exceed that height. But so that's probably why they were before the BPW.
What I hope we can find out is whether they have whether their permission for the DPW includes the alleyway. Clearly includes the front, but
Right.
I continue to be concerned about the alleyway, so.
Yeah, well, really, if you're going to encumber access to 8 manholes, it is a good thing to know what those manholes lead to.
Oh, and another thing we can do that night as well is I can give you all the 11 by 17s of the project. So we'll make a note of that on the 24th. We'll get you 11 by 17s so that you'll be ready for the 8th.
Oh, that would be great. There are times when having actual paper is really helpful.
Right.
So we also have the Tiago Martins projects, which look like they're going to be easy. And
Yes. Yep.
we've got the Peck School sign size question, which,
The reason why I put the question marks
competitive
there was
about it.
because I knew we needed to get the agenda rolling last week, but I just got this stuff today. So, and I got Tiago's stuff yesterday afternoon. So that's why there's question marks there. It was just because I wasn't, I knew that there was something coming, but wasn't sure, in fact, if they were going to make it. But, again, I got Tiago yesterday and Peck School today.
Yeah. And, I think Tiago, from everything we've seen, should be easy.
Yep.
And I never know what to expect from the Peck School team.
Right. And then another thing that came up is I haven't gotten back to Mercedes yet, but Mercedes is taking over the New Leaf EV charging, and it might be a good night to bring them in too, if they're available, just to kind of get them in and out, just as a simple amendment.
Yeah, I would be happy to see them then. They're
Okay.
usually fast.
Right. And then July 22nd, it's just honestly, it's all that we've got currently scheduled is the Dunkin' Donuts South 209 South Street. And it's their 6-month update to let them know that they've got to come before the board per their notice of decision.
Okay, well, I imagine that that'll fill up. I would be pleased but shocked, for one thing, if we can get the Victory Theater permitted in one session.
Well, I think, again, we'll hopefully have the checklist reviewed by the end of the week, and hopefully be able to, formally receive the plans for the formal review. I know that one thing that they were saying is that it was over 500 feet of paper, and that, it was, a significant undertaking to make all the documents and whatnot. But just know that, like, even the ordinance says 36 by 24, and they provided everything on, 30 by 42s. So the actual plan size sheets are giant pages of what, other than what they should be, but shame on them.
Can just a suggestion that for July 8th, if we can put the Victory Theater as one of the later, I feel like we can speed through some of the other stuff. I think we'll need more time for Victory Theater. So just in terms of order,
Yeah.
that would be my
I
suggestion.
agree.
Yeah, the intent, we'll probably do Peck School first, because that'll be like 5-10 minutes. Then we'll do Tiago, and then we'll do the Victory, and then Mercedes will come up under other business. So unfortunately, they'll be a little bit later, but I'll let them, or alert them to know that, that showing up at 7 or 7:30 would be fine,
You can
presumably.
always take it out of order too, if we
That's
want
true.
Yeah,
to get
it's
everything.
true.
July
We have
8th come right
previously
after
opened
the-
and recessed.
Oh, didn't hear either of you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mimi.
No, you go ahead. I think I stepped on you first.
July 8th comes right after the 4th of July weekend too, right? So if anybody is on vacation, I might be back Monday because gonna be closed. So that's another thing I just remember. I was just checking my notes.
So we should list you as potentially on vacation for the 8th.
Yes, I might be back. I'm not sure. I gotta check with the family.
Fair enough. Yeah, we are getting to the point where we need to start charting everybody's travel plans, if any.
Yeah, if anyone is aware of any time they might be taking off, I know it's kind of obviously personal, but if you could just kind of let Brianna know, just so we'll know moving forward, that would be great.
I was gonna say, I think we're the only board or committee that doesn't really take vacations.
It's true.
Isn't we used to not do one meeting in July? Sometimes I think if we go 3 years go back.
I think we've tried to arrange things when we can so that we have at least one meeting every 6 months or so where we don't have an agenda so we can cancel it. But I don't think it's ever been a regular thing.
No.
I do recall that, when I first joined the board, the chair was Eileen Reagan, and she used to complain about once a month about how this board wasn't paid and we worked 3 times as hard as all of the boards that were.
I mean, if we're gonna think about trying to save a week to give ourselves extra vacation, obviously we should know what people's schedules are first, but my sense is once we get started with the Victory Theater, we're gonna have to have a lot of meetings on that, and we're probably gonna wanna like keep going, which would argue for if we're gonna take a break, taking it at the end of the summer. But obviously, people can get in there. Any schedule conflicts they have ASAP, we can try to work around that.
Yeah, we can work around that, and we can also try to work around the rule about how you can miss one meeting and still vote on it as long as you review the recording of it. So if people are missing meetings, we can try to stagger who has to miss them so that we all remain qualified.
And once we unwrap the plan sets and all that that came in today, we can forward to you all the PDF or the Google Drive, the plans, and we'll send you the link just so that way you can start, because of the scope and significance of this project. We'll get it to you like by week's end. And just know they gave us floor plans for every single floor of that building. So if you want to know about the basement, we got basement plans. We got every single floor totally
I'm-
beyond the scope of what
I'm-
would be required, but we got
I'm
it.
excited.
So,
Yeah, I'm
Sounds
surprised to
awesome.
see it.
yeah.
I don't understand why they hired an outfit that did that to them, but they have no clue about operating in the city.
Well, see, the problem is they also, the project manager or lead is an architect and not a civil engineer. So therefore, I think it's very heavily laden with building plans, but not so much civil or engineering type plans.
Well, I hope our engineer has the bandwidth to tell us what they're missing.
I hope so too.
So. Anything else before for the schedule? If
So on the
not,
22nd right now, I said all we've got is that one item, but you know, if that becomes the only item on the 22nd, I guess we'll play it by ear, but that probably could be pushed to August, the first meeting of August. You know, if people are looking for availability, there's probably no reason to come into a meeting just to hear that, you know, they're going for their building permit or they just applied for it. So I'm just 22nd could be fluid if there was, you know, in the event that the victory doesn't get continued to that night. But again, we'll see where that goes.
yeah, no, I'm just assuming from past practice, every time we say it looks like we've got a light month or two, it fills up and becomes a monster. So, and really with the comp plan and the victory, it's already filled up and become a monster, whether it's showing it on the schedule or not. And we also have the continuing discussion that we keep putting off about special permits. And, you know, I think it's been a long time since we made a real effort to look at all of the special permits that the city authorizes or demands and try to figure out whether there is a more logical place to classify them all. Like the city council has permit granting authority over all kinds of stuff that, like, why? They don't enjoy doing it. They don't know what they're doing half the time. To be fair, they have enough work of their own that it doesn't even make sense for them to educate themselves about a lot of these special permits. And other cities do it differently. So Jeff has at least the beginnings of a list of permits we grant and permits they grant, and possibly permits that other departments grant. And it does make sense to try to make a list and figure out what a more rational disposition of those permits might be. I don't really want the planning board to have to look at them, but there are some that, you know, we would do better. And, you know, we have civil or municipal elections coming up, and it looks entirely possible that we might wind up with a city council that would even pass some of this stuff. So, I mean, that's on the agenda as something we should start discussing. And if we have a light night on the 22nd, certainly we could postpone that update, but we could also try to take a real look at the permits issue.
Right.
Can that document that you're working on, Jeff, be in a folder where we can look at it, you know, read only or something, so that we can start looking at it?
Sure, I'll put that up tomorrow. And what I did is I worked on it in 2021 with Tessa, when at the time she was the DGR chairperson, because her goal was to try to take give away, or however you want to look at it, a lot of those special permits. So in a brief review, rather it was lengthy for me, but a brief review with her, kind of looked at every one of them, and then later, you know, obviously time went on, she moved beyond the DGR chairperson, and it kind of fell flat. But I still have all of the, you know, cursory review, you know, notes as far as, say, from staff perspective, where certain, you know, should the special permit stay with the board or rather the council, or should it come back to the planning board, or should it even exist? Because some of the things, when you actually look at it, are kind of ridiculous. Some of the special permits, they should just be by right uses, or maybe it's not even existent anymore. So there's those items as well. So out of the 80 plus total special permits, some of them may not even need to exist. So.
Will city council let go of that is the question.
Well, we'll see. But if there are major changes to the council's composition, I guess we'll know at the end of July whether they're really not filing or whether they're only pretending not to file.
But as a follow-up to the comp plan item A and the special permit B, for what it's worth, I know a couple meetings ago, there was a discussion of like a zoning subcommittee. And at that point, it was Lauren had been, I guess, either was a volunteer or volunteered, however you want to say that.
I think
And I believe
both.
Rosanna as well. We have met on a couple occasions so far. We're meeting again next Monday. I didn't invite Rosanna to the last one because I wasn't sure what condition she was in, but I have reason to believe that she's willing to and will be in attendance for the next Monday meeting. That's wonderful. So we can kind of start looking at, we've got the list of the possible planning zone changes, but we can also start talking about the comp plan. So I think it could be a mixture of all of these things: comp plan, zone changes, and special permits. It just depends on where, the direction takes us.
Yeah,
Because it's
they
all got to be
all-
discussed and vetted, so,
Yeah, they're all facets of the same thing. So.
right.
Okay. I think brings us down to minutes, the last item on our agenda. Have people had a chance to review minutes?
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good on the minutes?
So the main thing I had, and I texted this to Brianna, that at least when I looked at it before, the first one had the wrong content.
Okay, I will go back and look at that. I did see
The,
your email about that, yep.
Yeah, the May 13th. I mean, when you read the content, it's all accurate, but it's actually not for the cited. It was taken from somewhere else. So the May 13th special permit for the fence for 37 Appleton, at least when I looked at it before, the content was actually describing a different fence.
Okay,
It was describing the sound fence at the best.
oh, gotcha, okay,
So somewhere you've got notes probably for the 37 Appleton fence,
yes, yep,
but these aren't them.
okay, I will go back and edit those. For sure.
And I made a couple of suggestions on a couple of the other ones.
Okay.
But I think like other than this one, I'm good to.
I will go back and look at them.
Basically, my comments were on the just so everybody else knows on the special permit minutes on the May 13th about 37 Appleton. I just added a reference to the fact that they withdrew the ANR because it just basically, it says we had continued, but then it doesn't really say why. And so I suggested adding in that we had continued it waiting for the ANR, but then they withdrew it. Or waiting for their decision about the ANR. And my other suggested change was on the special permit for the fence height for Florence Bank. Oh, that this permit was just this permit was just for the temporary fence,
Mhm.
didn't include the permanent fence, which is totally right, but I thought we should maybe note that there was going to be an application for the permanent fence separately, just so that if somebody comes back to look at these minutes, they're not confused about
Gotcha.
the other fence permit.
Makes sense. Yep.
But I thought those were pretty simple.
Okay.
I would concur with all of those. Is there anybody else who had comments? Is there a motion to approve them as a package as amended during the course of this discussion?
And leaving out
And leaving-
the special permit for the fence height for 37 Appleton, since it needs
It needs significant change.
correction.
Gotcha.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second, second that.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Lauren.
Yep.
And Gardner.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Or Lauren? Yes.
So I don't know if anybody else just saw this email come in, but Fleur from MIFA just emailed a bunch of us. And it just, so first off, she emailed a few board members with this application again, and just, they don't seem to understand what we're missing. Because it said, please see that we, sent this on May 27th with all the requested materials for the special permit. And I thought we were clear what we needed.
Yeah, I wonder whether it makes sense for us to send them any approved application, the detail sheets for a construction fence, because those all have the details that we actually need. Like here, this is what we are looking for. See the little drawing of the fence itself? See the thing that describes the materials that the fence is made of? See the plan that shows exactly where it is. And, I'm still not sure that they left understanding the difference between, yes, we acknowledge that we got this on May 27th. No, we are not accusing them of having submitted it this afternoon. That's a separate plan.
Yeah, I thought it was clear. Like, I thought we really resolved that, but based on this email that I just received, it does not appear that we did resolve that in their minds.
Okay, so do we ask Jeff to call them and try to explain? Do I write them a letter to try to explain?
Well, as a
It sounds
matter
like
of order, do people normally email members of the board?
No.
Okay, so then we should definitely nip that in the bud, just so that, like, as we're going into this process with them, that doesn't continue happening. So I think it should be, sorry, Jeff.
No,
Jeff,
I will call John Hammer tomorrow. He's been the guy I've been speaking to from the very beginning, and I will ask him for a detail. I'll also try to get him to rehash with me the idea of the scrim that he'd already agreed to take down. So I will have a conversation with him tomorrow.
for whatever it's worth, I think after you have that conversation with him, maybe a paper trail back to Fleur,
Sure.
recapping the conversation, CCing him on it,
Yeah.
so that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, I hate when this happens. And for what it's worth, that communication I got from MIFA, and I don't want to name the person who sent it because I really think it's not her fault, does explicitly invite me to the concert as her guest. Or as their guest.
I think that there's a lot of people doing a lot of things and they're not talking.
Yeah. But, for their sake as much as for ours, I wound up screen capping it because come on, guys, I don't care what the mayor felt he could do. You can't be doing this.
Yeah.
And even, if I showed up with a ticket that I bought at this point, I would not want to be seen there because they attempted to give me a ticket. It just doesn't look right. So, I don't know. It shouldn't be amateur hour like this.
That's what makes me think it's just like breakdown in communication, because there's talented individuals working on every level of it. So I just think that they're not all talking.
Yeah, they're not all talking and their consultants aren't doing their job. I mean, their professional team ought to know when they have to pull a permit. Oh, well, we will attempt to get them through this.
Are we looking for a motion to close the meeting?
I think we are.
Says the person who needs dinner.
Well, I was about to do that very thing when,
Sorry.
no, it's important.
No, it's all necessary, but if we're done, I'm ready.
Okay,
All right,
do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call vote for Mimi,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Rosanna,
Yes, ma'am.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Gardner.
Yes, yes.
Okay.